So when Ray William Johnson, a comedian and YouTuber with almost 14 million subscribers, decided to make a video talking about Afghanistan and how the men over there, how they treat women and how they force them to cover up and how they even make the mannequins cover up, Ali Dawah got triggered. Now, why would Ali Dawah want to defend the Taliban? Well, of course, we know why. Because he's a Taliban supporter. But let's look at the video. Let's see what Ray William Johnson had to say, and the video was actually pretty good. It was funny. And let's see what Ali Dawah, Taliban light supporter, let's see what he had to say. Even before we get started, Ali Dawah is saying Ray Johnson mocks Afghans. So he's trying to make it look like this guy is racist. It's the first thing he's doing off the bat. Well, let's see what it gets worse. It gets worse. Wait and see what he actually says.
So, I came across this guy, what's his name? Ray William Johnson. Ray William Johnson, I don't know what his name is, but I just came across this TikTok and I found it a bit bizarre. Let's watch it for ourselves and let's see what his problem is and what he found so funny.
Is this funny or is it sad? So in Afghanistan, under the Taliban rule, they are required to either cover the heads of their female mannequins or take the heads completely off. Sometimes they'll even put tinfoil over the mannequins' faces. And I guess this is so men don't lust after them. What kind of dark ages bullshit is this? If you think tinfoil is gonna stop me from lusting, you haven't seen the way I look at a baked potato. I'm sorry, covering your women, that's the dumbest shit ever. These guys can't control their urges, so they gotta cover their women up like they're fucking Daft Punk.
So there you go, another Caucasian man who wants to come and save and rescue the Muslim world, you know. In the meantime, while he's living in a degeneracy, where we can see where the Western world is going.
Yeah, right away he calls him out as a Caucasian man. Okay, like, what does it matter what color his skin is? Like, deal with the arguments. Am I a Caucasian man? I'm not a Caucasian man. I'm a brown man. And I am a man, but you're a man too. So here we are, right? Again, getting distracted by stupid things. Focus on the points, man. Focus on the points. I gotta say, that video was funny.
People like Andrew Tate and his likes have become so popular because they are fed up of seeing the direction you're going through. Now,
he's using Andrew Tate, the biggest misogynist on the internet, as his role model now of people that are converting to Islam. Andrew Tate is the biggest misogynist on the internet. No wonder he loved Islam. This guy clearly has his pick of women, but somehow he still ends up having this insecurity. To me, Andrew Tate smells of deep-rooted insecurity. The way he speaks about women and the way he wants to limit them, limit the autonomy, stick them in the kitchen and stick them in the bedroom, and that's only two places that are allowed. No wonder he loves Islam. Islam is straight up in line with that. Both him and Muhammad were clearly narcissists and also not just misogynists, but deeply insecure people, deeply insecure men. Clearly, these guys were not, you know, confident about their masculinity. That's why they behave this way. And of course, in Andrew Tate's case, he knows that this type of stuff is popular with young kids, and he's using his fame and his money to kind of bring people in to listen to his message and get more popular. But the reality is, we all know why he likes Islam, because it falls straight in line with his beliefs about women and their inferior nature. That's what he thinks about women. No wonder he loves Islam.
Look at you, Mrs. Ray William Johnson, whatever your name.
So this is like the most childish, stupidest thing that Ali Dawah is doing. Right away, what we're seeing here is Ali Dawah is insulting him or attempting to insult him by calling him a woman. So according to Ali Dawah, to call someone a woman is an insult, right? That's what he thinks of women. Like, clearly, no wonder this guy supports the Taliban.
Yes, the Taliban, or the people in power in Afghanistan, are not doing that because they cannot control their self. You know, Mrs. Caucasian white man who can control himself because he can go and sleep around with whoever he wants, whenever.
Again, he's saying Mrs. Like, this is not an insult. Like, how do you think it makes sense to call the guy a woman? And to think that outside of being a 12-year-old, like, this would make sense and people would like laugh at this. What value do you bring by continuing to call him a woman and saying he can sleep with women? Okay, that's his choice. Again, The fundamental problem with these Islamists and these Taliban light people is they don't know what consent is. They don't understand what consent is. Women are not weak, inferior beings that need to be babied and protected by the likes of you people, right? You men that think that by controlling women's autonomy, you're actually protecting them. You're not protecting them. Like, okay, this guy's giving a lesson on how to give. I don't even know who this guy is and what this has to do with Ray William Johnson. I think he's, from what I can tell, this is just a random like video about how to get women, okay?
And use and abuse a woman like they're a piece of crap, like a jacket potato, like he was mentioning, yes? He can just access them whenever he likes. I mean, if you think about it, these women...
The irony here is that the biggest guy doing this online is Andrew Tate. He's picking on Ray William Johnson. I don't know what he has to do with this, but dude, the guy you just promoted, this is literally what he teaches kids what to do, young men. That this is his thing, how to get girls. This is Andrew Tate, man, and this is who you. Oh man, the intelligence is not a redeeming factor of Ali Dawah, is it?
Jacket potato, like he was mentioning, yes? Use and abuse a woman like they're a piece of crap, like a jacket potato, like he was mentioning, yes?
Oh my god, this guy doesn't understand his joke. He wasn't saying he wants to use and abuse women like a baked potato. Do people use and abuse baked potatoes? It's a wholesome food. It's like, yeah, I loved my... If he's saying he was making a joke about lusting over baked potatoes because baked potatoes are delicious. Now, you're clearly reading too much into this if you're saying he wants to use and abuse women because he's lusting over the baked potato. Like, look at how he stretches and like strawmans the guy.
Yes, he can just access them whenever he likes. I mean, if you think about it, these women are nothing but toilets to you, because anytime you want to go wee or go poo, you have to use a toilet to relieve yourself. You do the same thing with these women. You just want to relieve yourself inside of them. So they're like walking toilets to you. So for you to come and question...
This is like... Ali Dawah is saying that to people that don't want women to cover up like they do, the Taliban does, putting them in burqas and like forcing them to not go to school, not allowing them to be journalists. I mean, the list of restrictions the Taliban puts on women, it keeps growing and growing. They're not even done yet. They just keep adding more restrictions. So according to him, there's only two choices in life. Either you use women like a toilet, according to this guy, use and abuse them, or you're a Taliban. What about like normal relationships? What about like seeking and desiring women and wanting a proper normal relationship like most people do? Why is he going to extremes? Again, this just shows the weakness of his argument. He goes to the most extreme, like he's basically strawmanning, and he keeps doing that over and over again. And he's of course being dishonest. Ray William Johnson is not saying use and abuse women like a toilet. Like what? Like, I mean, what a disgusting way to even put it. Like, and I just gotta say something. When it comes to sex with women, it's a two-way thing. It's beneficial, it's enjoyable for both the man and the woman. It's not only men that want sex. Women like to have sex too. Like, we're human beings. We all want love. We all want, you know, physical intimacy. Not all of us, but most people want physical intimacy, and that's normal. Both men and women. Clearly, this guy's never met a woman in his life.
A group of people who you might look and be like, these barbarians, you know, yeah. What makes you, and what principles do you use to justify that your way of life is better than their way of life?
Well, clearly, he's looking at the autonomy, at the freedom, at the choices they have, or the lack of choices. He's looking at it from a human rights perspective. He's looking at it from his perspective, which is also my perspective, which is this perspective of anyone that cares about their fellow humans.
That's a question that needs to be asked. They cover the faces and get rid of the mannequins because of the saying of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about image makers. So that is actually more close to punishment because of making, drawing images. The ruling comes to that, not because...
He's saying the reason that the Taliban are taking off the heads of mannequins and covering them with tinfoil is because the images, I don't know about you, but that's not an image. That's something to hold up a piece of cloth, right? To show what the clothing looks like. That's not, and it has nothing to do with images. And even if it did, how does that even make sense?
Drawing images. The ruling comes to that, not because the men find it enticing or whatever it may be. And to be honest, actually, talking about this, there was actually a study done that showed that some men get turned on by mannequins. So it's not a far-fetched reality. Not that I'm saying they do it because of that reason, but in the Western world, there are some people in your worldview and your countries in the Western world who follow liberal values that actually find mannequins, they have a fetish for mannequins. So this is a problem that is more prevalent in this country, in the Western world, in our countries, than it is there in their countries. So just because you misjudged it and thought they're just covering them just because, it's such a desire that they cannot control themselves, it's absolutely nonsense, my friend. And funnily enough, you find this fetish of looking at mannequins and getting turned on in the Western world. Isn't that ironic? Maybe next time educate.
Oh man, this guy is trying to say that in the Western world, you have liberals that are attracted to mannequins. And he's saying this is not far-fetched. Does this guy even listen to himself? The problem is when you're in the Matrix, your reality is so distorted that you stretch further and further in order, you try to find the most obscure thing you can in order to make a point, because you have no point. Even the comments on the original video, they are hilarious, right? Everyone's gangster until someone lusts over a tinfoil woman. Use male mannequins. Control your urges now. This radiates. You have to cover those distracting shoulders. It's all fun and games until someone lusts over the headless woman. Cover them up. So this is like, his point is so bad that he has to find some obscure example of some weird fetish and use this as if it's a mainstream and act like people are walking around lusting over mannequins. I mean, why does that even matter? Like, if someone finds a mannequin attractive because it resembles the shape of a woman. I mean, again, like one of the comments said, well, wouldn't that apply to male mannequins as well?
Educate yourself. And talking about covering a woman is the dumbest ever. Really? Really? So do you believe that we are more...
Just wait. Let's guess what he's going to do. He's going to go and make the most extreme example possible. And then he's going to say, see, that's what you guys want.
We are more liberated the more women show their skin? Really? To more sexualizing themselves? Do you think this is the way to go about? Yeah? Is this what you think liberalism is? Do you think this is liberating? That women choose to, in the winter cold -3 degrees, dress up in miniskirts and wear this much high heels with full of caked up makeup and hair that is not even real. You think that is liberating? And you...
What did I tell you? He finds some like fashion catwalk where they have the most like, out there, bleeding edge fashion that nobody typically wears when they're walking down the street. And he's saying, this is what you guys want. This is what you guys want. This is liberation.
You do not feel that that is oppression? You do not think that these women are not forced or coerced in one way or another to dress up and behave in that way? Beauty.
So, first of all, when it comes to dressing up the way they want, there's the issue of consent, which is missing. This entire conversation is missing the concept of consent. Consent for how people want to dress or not want to dress, right? Now, let's hear what he has to say about this.
Industry, peer pressure, pleasing men, the opposite gender, none of these play a role. Really? The Western woman want to dress up like this and dress up in miniskirts in cold weather. Absolute garbage. So the biggest BS I've heard is from your mouth.
So I don't think Ray William Johnson was saying anything about unrealistic beauty standards or about how women have to dress. Of course, this guy is strawmanning again. He's going to the most, the fact is, yes, there are some issues with the fashion industry and in general with body images and stuff like that. And that's something we need to work on and to help women and young women to understand, and young men too, what a realistic body image is. This has always been some sort of an issue whenever you have, certain groups, fashion industry, Hollywood, portraying certain body types. Obviously, people will think that this is normal, especially young people will think this is normal, this is okay, whereas they don't realize that, you know, for example, many of the bodybuilders use steroids. Some of the actors are using steroids and drugs in order to get buff. And young men would think, this is, how come I'm not growing muscle like that, right? And they're looking for shortcuts. And of course, there's certain industries, they do promote certain unrealistic body images. Social media, Instagram is a big problem as well. This is a real issue that we need to discuss. And frankly speaking, hijab doesn't solve that, because hijabis, there are hijabi models as well. And they also are caked up in makeup. They do all of these things. The solution is not to throw out the baby with the bathwater, which is what you keep going to extremes and bringing up this, like, you know, these are all the problems. Like your system doesn't solve this problem either. It really doesn't, because again, you're forgetting about men. Men have these issues too. There is a point to be made here, but this has nothing to do with Ray William Johnson, what he was saying.
When a woman covers up, she is choosing to control her sexuality, that you talk to her, not talk to somewhere else.
Again, this has nothing to do with women choosing to dress up in hijab. This was about the Taliban forcing women to dress up, and even making the mannequins dressed up or covered or tinfoiled or whatever.
Yes, because maybe you're used to and desensitized to seeing half-naked girls left, right, center. You believe that your worldview, which is the fallacy of presentism, that you have...
Why is it not okay in his worldview for women to be half naked, but it's okay for men to be half naked? Why is it that men can go around in their shorts and they can go around in their trunks, even in Speedos, and, you know, go on the beach, enjoy themselves, but women, they have to cover up from head to toe? Is that not unfair? Where's the consent in that?
Have the best worldview, and that is the best for the whole world. No, it's not. You have no premises, no points, nothing to prove that. So next time, before you open your mouth and talk about this, maybe you should buy a book called Beauty Sick. And it would maybe educate you to the pandemic of billions of women around the world who are sick in beauty. Yes, they're beauty sick. They are too busy starving themselves to have the perfect body. Yes, getting their nose done, their backside done, their breasts done, and in the process dying. Literally dying to look a certain way because they're not happy with themselves.
Actually, you know, plastic surgery is a bigger thing in Korea, where upwards of, I think, 90% or 95% of women in Korea have done plastic surgery. So it's actually a bigger problem over there than over here. No doubt, this is a real problem, and this is something we can talk about. But what you're talking about, this is a problem with Islamists in general. They try to make it sound like Islam is the, you know, the best thing since sliced bread. It solves all of the problems. If you think about it, a system that puts limitations and controls on certain things will have some benefits, but it will also come at the cost of some other things. For example, freedom. So a dictatorship is usually more safe for most people, not the ones the dictator hates, than an unstable democracy or an unstable dictatorship. So a stable democracy and a stable dictatorship are the safest places to be. Even a dictatorship, even though in a dictatorship you lose all sorts of freedom, but it's still better in terms of, let's say, overall safety and stability, because there is some, you know, system in place. Now, does that mean dictatorships are good? Does that mean I want to live under a dictatorship? Hell no. No. So that's the point. Obviously, every system will have pros and cons. Islamic finance has some pros, but at what cost? It throws out the baby with the bathwater. And that's the same thing when it comes to women's dress code in Islam. Sure, it's has some so-called benefits, but also has many negatives. Many hijabis talk about how the hijab is actually caused them to lose some of their hair.
You know, there are things like hair loss. There's so many reasons that it's difficult, and I could just like go on and on and on.
Right? It actually, you get less vitamin D in the sun. It's hot and sweaty and uncomfortable. There's a lot of burden there. And it's not a free choice. Nobody would choose hijab. Okay, maybe some would choose hijab, but vast majority would probably never wear it if it wasn't a compulsion. If it was like, okay, you can wear hijab, but it's optional, I don't think almost anyone would wear it. And I think even Mr. Ali Dawah knows this. Women are forced to wear hijab. It's a spiritual compulsion. They're told if they don't wear it, they will be punished by Allah. And if they wear it, they're blessed by Allah. So of course they're going to wear it. So that's all I have. Ali Dawah, obviously, you know, now that you've seen this one video, you know how every single one of his videos is. Ali Dawah's favorite fallacy is this fallacy of false dilemma, where he makes this like unreasonable choice, or this other unreasonable choice, which is Islam, and he says that's a reasonable one, but he'll say, look how reasonable Islam is when you look at this like crazy, unreasonable other choice. And somehow he thinks that we're too dumb to see through that. We're not too dumb to see through that. His viewers, on the other hand, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're buying this up, they're eating this up or not, but clearly this isn't a well thought out argument. There's no good point here. He bashes the guy by calling him a she. Then he says Mrs. Ray William Johnson wants to sleep with women and use them like a toilet. Then he says women have unrealistic body image issues in the West. And, oh yeah, and we forgot the mannequin. Oh yeah, mannequin fetish. I mean, these are points, like, you can't make this up. These are the points he's coming up with. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for your continued support. If you'd like to support the channel, join my Patreon below. Thank you to all my patrons who continue to support me and channel members. This is your friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir signing out.